You have, Mario? What do you know? What can you tell us about it, if you don't mind?
No,
Just
I've heard of it. I haven't really been trained on it though.
got it. Okay.
I didn't.
Anybody else? No one else has heard about it? Okay, cool. So I'm going to give you guys a very, very quick breakdown of kind of what it is, how we can utilize it, and then I'll go ahead and show you the video because obviously the video is going to go into more depth. That way you can take notes. You can go back to it and so on and so forth. And then afterwards, we'll leave the questions for then. Okay, sound good? Yay. All right, awesome. So premium financing, super simple. Premium financing is essentially a financial strategy or a plan used to help individuals or businesses afford the premiums for a high value life insurance policy. Okay. So typically it involves borrowing money from a lender. Okay. That specializes in premium financing. Because I've seen advisors tell their clients to go to Bank of America and ask about premium financing. That's incorrect. There's specific banks and specific entities that specialize in these type of loans. Okay. And so typically, like I said, it involves borrowing money from a bank or a lender, what have you, to pay the policy premium instead of the client using their own assets to do so. Okay. And why? Why would a client do that if they're already rich? They have a ton of money. Well, for many reasons. Okay. Sometimes clients don't have access to their assets right off the bat, or their assets are tied down into something else. They know that the assets are going to go up higher or increase. For example, I have a crypto client that currently has a whole bunch of crypto wallets that he does not want to touch. So my strategy, my next step for him, because he's being so adamant about not touching those assets, and I want to make sure that we close his policy, is I'm going to go ahead and utilize premium financing, okay, so that I can get a loan and utilize his current crypto as collateral. Okay, so the crypto is going to be an asset. Same thing with any other type of investment or dollar amount that the client currently has. And it can be real estate. That's an asset, right? It can be tangible assets like investments, crypto, things like that are tied up in the stock market. The client doesn't want to touch them. We can still do this for them. That way we can get them a very, very high life insurance policy, but we can utilize their current assets as collateral, not necessarily to pay for the policy. Okay. Does that make sense for everybody right now thus far? Yes. Okay, perfect. So how does this work? So, or who is this for, rather? Let's talk about that real quick, because this is not for everybody. This is going to be for the person that's wanting, to invest or to buy a life insurance policy, and they have about $20 million in collateral. Remember, the key here is the collateral amount, because that's what we're going to use. Can y'all turn off can y'all mute yourselves, please? Because I'm losing my thought process. Thank you. So again, we're utilizing their assets to go ahead and use it as collateral to take the loan out, okay, to fund the big life insurance policy that they want, okay? The life insurance policy, our jobs as advisors is then to make sure we structure that policy correctly so that it can build enough cash value to pay back just the interest on the loan, not the entire loan, not the capital, okay? Just the interest. Our goal is to save this client as much money as possible. This is key, okay? It's really important because this is what you're going to tell your client, okay? You're not going to repay that back. What you're going to do, what we're going to structure it to do, is that it's going to allow you to repay that interest on the loan every single year, okay? You can keep it forever. And then when you pass away, because we got you such a big life insurance policy on our end, we're going to use the death benefit, or your family members are going to use the death benefit, or your estate rather, because it has to be in an estate. So an irrevocable living trust, okay? That's what we're going to set it up in. So the estate is going to pay that loan back, not the client while they're alive. Does that make sense for everybody thus far? Good. Can they repay it back? Absolutely. If they have more money, if they have money to throw away, pay it back. Just utilize it as long as you need it. But if they don't have additional assets, they just have what they're doing currently with this, that's how they're going to do it. So basically, upon the policyholder's death, the life insurance payout can be used to repay the loan, and the remaining balance after that goes obviously to the beneficiaries or / to the estate, right? Okay. So what are the key benefits for this? Why would we do this, right? So it's going to preserve the client's liquidity. So if they're using their assets as collateral only, and we're taking care of the interest, we're making sure everything is taken care of on the loan end, because that's our job as the advisors, okay? They don't have to tie up their money or their cash or sell their assets to fund that big life insurance policy. Okay, we can just get it with a loan and use what their current assets, as collateral. Tax advantage, right? Any type of life insurance policy that we fund, because we're funding it with tangible assets or hard assets or what have you, it's going to be a huge tax advantage for the client, okay? So it's a very efficient way to transfer wealth, if that makes sense. And leverage, right? We're borrowing investments to fund the policy, okay? So another thing, very important for you to know, because people will always ask, what are the risks? You know, is there a risk for me? Absolutely, there are risks. There's risk with everything, right? Except regular participating whole life, because it's guaranteed. I mean, let's be real. So what is the risk? Because we're working with a third-party lender, a bank, bank loans fluctuate every single year. Does everybody agree with that? We've talked about this multiple times, right? So the loan interest can go up or down. We never know. We can't predict that, right? We can't, because it depends on how everything else around the world is performing, right? Another risk, collateral risk. So if the collateral value drops, for example, just as an example, if my client's crypto, for example, drops dramatically and it's no longer worth what it was worth when he took out that loan, guess what? We're going to have to figure out a way to get more collateral so we can still have access to that loan. Okay, so the loan is still working in our favor. So we have to figure it out somewhere or another. So it's a very detailed strategy that we have to create for them. But again, you know, that's why we're not using their entire wealth amount. We have to be very careful on what we can use and what we can't, okay, in the event that stuff like this happens. And then repayment risk. So if you structure that life insurance policy incorrectly, and there's not enough cash value to repay that interest or repay that loan, guess what? You know, everything is going to collapse on us, right? So the client is at a big loss. So we have to be extremely careful. You can lose your license in a matter of a phone call if this happens, because it is a very big. And just so you know, you guys, this type of product is maybe for the 5% in the entire world. This is not for everybody. Like I said, I mean, if you have a client that wants to give you about, you know, anywhere from 15, 20, $30 million, this is something that you have to take into consideration. Okay. If they don't want to touch their assets, if not, don't even think about this product. This product is only if they want to hold on to their assets. Okay. It's just collateral, right? So, all right. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the video. And does anybody have any questions before I continue?
How often is the collateral evaluated? Sorry, Mario.
Every year, once a year.
So a year, as long as it's,
Yep.
I mean, it could do all these things within the year, but at
Absolutely.
the year it needs to, okay.
Yes, so that's a great question. So it's evaluated based on the interest. So if the interest dramatically increases, they have to make sure that the collateral that they have on that loan makes sense for the interest that the client has to repay. Okay. Does that make sense for everybody? All right, cool. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I'm going to share this video real quick. It's a short video, so don't worry. It's nothing crazy, but it's important because it's going to break it down a little bit more. Can you all see the screen, by the way? Thumbs up. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm Darren Sugiyama, CEO and founder of Landsmark Capital, the most transparent premium financing intermediary firm in the life insurance industry. So if you're watching this video, I'm going to assume that you're either a client that's considering using premium finance life insurance as part of your overall estate plan, or you're an advisor who has a client that's considering this as a potential estate planning tool. In either case, I think it's important to understand the general concept first, and then discover whether or not premium financing is a viable solution for you. So first off, the concept of premium finance life insurance might feel foreign to you, but in reality, it's not all that different than what you've done in the past already, using leverage in different areas of your financial life. If you own a substantial amount of real estate, you probably use leverage in the form of a mortgage loan. You probably finance the purchase of your automobiles, And maybe you've even used leverage to expand your business. Now, premium finance life insurance isn't all that much different in the sense that you're using leverage to purchase a valuable, highly appreciable asset. In this case, life insurance policy. Oftentimes, our clients will use life insurance as a solution for the impending need for liquidity to pay the 40% in estate taxes when their adult children inherit their estate. Typically, this is done using an ILIT, or an irrevocable life insurance trust. And this places the asset, in this case, the life insurance policy, outside their taxable estate. So the advantage of using life insurance as the underlying asset is that the contributions exit your taxable estate. However, the larger death benefit is what goes to your heirs tax-free. And that death benefit is what most of our clients use to pay the estate tax on the remaining taxable estate value. Now, financing the premiums oftentimes makes sense for several reasons. Rather than using 100% of your own money to pay the life insurance premiums, you can finance the premiums and pay interest only to the bank. This drastically reduces the out-of-pocket expense in the early years. Now, because each client is obviously different, we custom design each premium finance life insurance arrangement based on the client's net worth, liquidity, risk tolerance, and a number of other unique variables. We have actually 5 different loan models to choose from. In some cases, we'll use a loan model that isn't 100% leveraged, where the client will pay a portion of the premium out of pocket and then borrow the remaining premiums. Think of it kind of like putting down a larger down payment on a piece of real estate and mortgaging a smaller amount. Again, each client is different, so we take all the variables into consideration, including any estate planning you might have already done, including trust work, gifting exemption, unified credits, and any sort of legacy investing platform. So before we get into the different loan designs, let's talk about the basic concept of premium financing first, using a real estate analogy. So let's start off by getting a deeper understanding of what premium financing actually is. I find that using a real estate analogy is the easiest way to understand the basic concept. So in this analogy, we're going to compare buying a property with cash versus buying a more valuable property using leverage in the form of a mortgage loan. So in this example, we're going to use a loan model that's similar to one of our premium financing loan models, not a traditional mortgage loan. Again, this is purely an analogy. So let's say you're going to buy a $10 million property and the seller agreed to receive $1 million per year over the course of 10 years. And let's say you were going to borrow that $1 million annual amount from a lender. In this scenario, you would have the ongoing loan balance, and in a premium finance loan, you could pay interest only on the loan balance. In this case, we'll use a hypothetical interest rate of 5%. So your interest payments would be 5% of the cumulative loan balance in each given year. And over the course of that 10-year period, that would be $2.75 million in interest-only payments paid to the lender. Now, conversely, on the right side of the screen, you could just purchase a $2.75 million property with cash. So if we assume the same cash outlay each year as the interest payment amounts on the left-hand side of the screen, that would be a total of the same $2.75 million out of pocket paid. Now, let's assume that $2.75 million property appreciated at 5% per year. Over that 10-year period, the value of that property would increase to $4.4 million. However, on the left-hand side of the screen, if that $10 million property appreciated at the same rate of 5%, the property value after 10 years would be just over $16 million. Now, that $16 million amount is the gross value, but remember, we still have $10 million of debt on that property. So if we back out the $10 million of debt, we have a $6.2 million net value at the end of 10 years versus only $4.4 million in the lesser value property purchased with the same cash outlay. So by using leverage, we've created over 40% more net value. And so this concept illustrates the basic idea of how premium finance life insurance works. We're going to take a look at 5 different loan models. Each one of our loan models is specifically designed for a very specific type of client. Most premium financing firms only have one loan model, and they attempt to put every single client in that one singular loan model, which really doesn't make any sense and is certainly not advantageous to the client. So I'm going to go through these 5 different loan models, and we'll assume this case study where the client needs $10 million of death benefit. And I'll use the same client parameters in each one of these loan models. So the first loan model is called first dollar financing. In this scenario, the client borrows 100% of the premiums. In this case, $2 million in premium per year over the course of 7 years. The cumulative loan balance obviously is going to be growing as the client is borrowing more premium. And in this model, the client would pay interest only out of pocket each year. Now, in a 100% leveraged scenario, the client would have to post some collateral to shore up the difference between the loan amount and the policy cash value. Obviously, the death benefit is up in the tens of millions at that point, but the cash value in the first 10 years is going to be a little bit lower than the premiums that were loaded into the policy. In this model, we are exiting the loan in year 11, and we're using the appreciated policy value to pay off that third-party lender. In this scenario here, the initial death benefit amount is just shy of $26 million. After we pay the loan off, we see the death benefit hit a low point at just over $10.5 million. And after that point, the death benefit starts to increase over time. And if we go 40 years out, the death benefit hits a peak of $28.7 million at age 89. Now, you may be asking yourself, why do we have to start with so much more initial death benefit to hit a low point of the $10.5 million? The reason is that when we use leverage, after we pay off the loan, the death benefit does decrease. And so we reverse engineer the design to figure out where the low point needs to be. And then we back into what the initial death benefit needs to be to satisfy that low point death benefit need. Now, after the death benefit hits the low point, we see the death benefit start to drastically increase. And perhaps the client doesn't need more death benefit after that point. So we do have a cost recovery model where the client could start taking drawdowns at a certain point, in this case at age 75, and they would start drawing down just over $766,000 per year over the course of 10 years. That would be a total drawdown amount of $7.6 million. Now, why do we design this so that the client recovers $7.6 million? Well, that was the amount of interest that the client would have paid over time on the premium financing loan. So $7.66 million in and $7.66 million out back into their pocket results in a zero net cost. When we take those drawdowns, you'll see the solid green line there represent the ongoing death benefit, even when we're drawing down that $766,000 per year over the course of 10 years. Again, the low point stays above the $10 million client need. And even after we cost recover via the drawdowns, the death benefit does continue to increase after we finish taking drawdowns and ends up just shy of $16 million right at life expectancy at age 89. Now, some clients will take a look at this and they'll say, well, I don't really need life insurance. No one ever left anything behind for me. I didn't have an inheritance. And my heirs are already going to get millions of dollars. Well, that may be true, but I always say, that 40% is either going to go to your kids or it's going to go to Uncle Sam. Most wealthy clients I talk to would prefer that 40% in their estate value go to just about anyone other than Uncle Sam. And if they say, well, I don't want to make my kids overly wealthy, typically they will have some sort of charity that they would prefer to support instead of their kids or instead of Uncle Sam. In either one of those scenarios, our goal is to figure out what is the best way to maximize your current estate value to preserve as much of your wealth as possible. And then you can decide who would be the beneficiary of the majority of your estate. So we're going to compare premium finance life insurance to a non-insurance based investment. If you had a non-insurance based investment, which you probably do already, if you made the same 10 years of annual contributions to this non-insurance based investment, assuming the same gross rate of return that we're showing in the life insurance policy, assuming a certain investment fee amount, as well as a certain capital gains tax amount, and the 40% in estate taxes, and assuming the same cost recovery drawdowns that we showed in the premium finance life insurance policy, now on the right-hand side of the screen, we see the comparison. The green line represents the ongoing net death benefit of the premium finance life insurance policy, again, with the cost recovery drawdowns. And the blue line represents the value of the non-insurance based investment account. Over the course of 40 years, that's a pretty substantial difference there. We're talking almost $12 million in net difference, which creates 392% more value in the premium finance life insurance policy at age 89. The question really becomes, are you willing to take an $11.8 million loss by not employing premium finance life insurance into your overall portfolio? But sometimes we still have clients say, I really don't want to pay for this life insurance policy. Well, the reality is incorporating life insurance into your overall estate plan is not a cost per se. It's really an asset reallocation play. Now, what I mean by that is typically you're not going to use your ongoing earned income to fund your life insurance need. You're probably going to reallocate certain assets inside your portfolio. In other words, switching out assets that are less tax efficient for an asset that is more tax efficient. Here's what I mean by this. Let's say you have a $10 million current portfolio account balance. Hopefully that should grow over time. But at end of life, generation 2 is going to get that portfolio balance minus 40% in estate taxes. Now, conversely, you could have the exact same portfolio with the exact same $10 million starting account balance that would grow over time, but you could reposition a small amount of your portfolio value into a life insurance policy. At end of life, generation 2 would obviously get the portfolio balance minus 40% in estate taxes, but they would also get the net death benefit of the life insurance policy. On the right-hand side of the screen, again, we show the portfolio without life insurance represented by the blue line, and the green line represents that exact same portfolio and using a small amount of that portfolio to fund the life insurance policy. And so that green line represents the ongoing portfolio value minus the estate taxes plus the ongoing death benefit value. Over the course of 40 years, again, that is a pretty substantial increase in value by incorporating life insurance inside your portfolio. Now, the last objection I will typically get is someone that says, well, I don't like debt, right? I'm debt adverse. Well, let's take a look at an apples to apples comparison using leverage versus not using leverage. In the financed life insurance policy there in the green, we see that the total net cost is zero. So if you remember, we did that 100% cost recovery model where you took drawdowns from the policy value and still kept the net death benefit above $10 million at all times. If you were to buy a non-financed life insurance policy, the annual premium for a $10 million level death benefit policy is just over $146,000 per year, and you would pay that annual premium over the course of 20 years, totaling $2.9 million in expense. Of course, there's no cost recovery in the non-financed life insurance policy. And then we have the non-insurance-based investment account. Again, we are recovering the same cost as we did in the premium finance policy, making the net cost zero. If the client were to die in the first year, God forbid, the total payout, meaning the net death benefit of the premium finance life insurance policy, would be just shy of $26 million. In that first year, the non-finance policy would pay a death benefit claim of $10 million, and the non-insurance-based investment account would have a value of $88,000. If we go out to year 27 at age 75, the premium financed policy has a net death benefit of $10.1 million. Now, and again, this is the low point death benefit. The non-finance policy obviously would still have a $10 million death benefit, and the non-insurance-based investment accounts, after fees, capital gains tax, and estate tax, would have a net value of $6.79 million. And then if we go out to year 40, that would put the client at age 89. In the premium finance policy, after the 100% cost recovery, that would have a net value of just shy of $16 million versus the non-finance policy at only $10 million, and the non-insurance-based investment account would only have a net value of $4 million. Again, that's after the cost recovery drawdowns, similar to the premium finance life insurance policy. To look at the same data just on a graph, again, in the green, we have the ongoing net death benefit of the premium finance policy that has a zero net cost. The orange bars represent the ongoing $10 million level death benefit of the non-finance policy that has a $2.9 million cost. And then the blue bars represent the ongoing net value of that non-insurance based investment account. A pretty dramatic difference. Okay, let's move on to loan model number 2. This.
Okay, you guys, can y'all hear me, by the way? You don't, yeah, the other ones are super complicated, so I'm not even gonna show them to you. If we ever, yeah, they're like, I mean, it goes in insane depth. So, I just want to show you the one that we typically always see. The other ones are gonna be for, you know, multiple types of premium financing policies in one, or for shorter amount of times. It gets really complicated. So, but if you have a case like that, I will always help you figure it out, okay? So, does anybody have any questions thus far? Did everybody understand what they saw, what they were explaining? Priscilla, I know you don't because you got here late, but whatever. So, anybody else? Sharina, I know you know this product. Are you there? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. My son's just throwing a major tantrum. So this is freaking awesome. I literally want to know more about it, but I think like I know the draw, like there's certain aspects of it where like I'm familiarized because of you, but I need to know more. Like I need to know more. Like how would we fund this? You know,
Got
but
it,
yeah.
got it. No
But yeah,
problem.
it's a little confusing on like because of his verbiage, but overall, I love this concept. I just want to know more, like how to properly structure it.
Got it.
Got it. Okay.
Thank you. Anybody else? Does anybody else have any questions, thoughts, concerns? Nobody has any questions.
I'll need to
Okay.
watch that again. It was such a, I get that you end up making more by using this leverage strategy. It's
Mhm.
just the intricacies of exactly how it works. So it's gonna
Exactly.
slow it down. Like my mind can't wander because if you wander, you miss something.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's a lot, right? It's a lot of information, but it's very simple, you guys. Basically, what we're doing is we're using a life insurance policy to help our clients, our high net worth clients. Remember, really important. You're not going to tell your, you know, your next door neighbor that, you know, who wants to invest, you know, 100 grand. No, no, no. This is like I said, millions and millions. You know what I'm saying? People that have access to that type of money or have that money in their portfolio. Because what are we going to do? We're going to leverage the assets. We're going to utilize those assets to pay the life insurance contract premium. That way it doesn't interrupt their lifestyle, right? Because I mean, nobody wants their assets to, or pull them much money and to fund a life insurance policy. And B, their assets may not be ready yet, or it may be locked, or they just don't want to because they know, for example, if they have their money in a brokerage account, right? In an investment account with, I don't know, Morgan Stanley. Okay. Let's just do that as an example. If they have their assets tied up to something like that, and Morgan Stanley's telling them, don't move them just yet, because in year one or in a couple of
Irrevocable life insurance trust.
correct, irrevocable life insurance trust. We're going to go ahead and see a triple in your current investment. So do not touch them. No problem. What we can do is we can only use them as collateral. Okay. So once we get that loan from the bank, from that, the brokerage account of the client, we're going to go ahead and fund our life insurance policy for them. Right. So we're literally using a life insurance policy, but we're funding it with the client's assets, okay, versus their a monthly draft or what have you. Does that make sense? That's all it is. It's truly as simple as I can explain it. So, I'm going to call some people out since nobody's saying anything, and I hate that. So, let me see. I don't know. Patty, I know you work with me all the time. So, okay, let me ask you something. Is premium financing an additional cost to the client?
It shouldn't be, right? Because you're leveraging the collateral and you're using that money from the loan to pay for it while it's building up on the back end to make up for that, right? If it's structured properly to do so.
Correct. Absolutely. Exactly right. It has to be structured to where it's going to make the client enough money to always be able to pay the interest. Remember, we're only paying the cost of the interest for the loan, right? And the idea here is to, at the end of the term of this loan, whatever it is that the client chooses it to be, 5 years, 10 years, whatever, we have to make sure that they have already made all that money in interest back. Does that make sense? So anything that they paid out of their pocket in interest, we want to make sure. So basically at the end of the contract time and at the end of 10 years, for example, let's just say that it would have seemed that the client did not spend $1. So it's not debt, right? It's not debt, and it's not big, like the gentleman said, make sure that you understand that this is not additional debt to the client, because some people do not like debt. It is asset allocation. Okay, write that down. This is asset allocation. We're moving their assets around. Okay, so we make it work for them. Thus, we're going to double their money, because they can go and buy, you know, or fund a $25 million house or project or whatever. But no, the idea here is to utilize what they currently have and leverage it so we can, at the end of the day, the end of their life, or at the end of the term for the loan, we can make them double or triple the amount of what they would have initially thought they would have made. Okay, make sense? So yes.
So to keep it simplified, because I know there's a lot of new people as well. So let's say I've got 30 million, and the asset itself, I don't want to touch. So we would go in this route, this direction, right? To essentially secure financing, for, 5 or 7 years, right? And then that way, when I receive the money from the financing, I could put it into a guaranteed or a participating whole life product, right? So that money's in the account growing with the fixed rate and the dividends, right? And then we can be making money off of that to pay off the interest that we're being charged on the premium financing loan for 5 or 7 years. So that way we're kind of done with that. And we've now secured this, and this now the money growing inside of the participating whole life has exceeded the loan amount, the original loan amount. We've doubled our money.
Correct.
Right? Okay. All right.
Exactly. That's all it is, you guys. It's exactly what we currently do. We're just paying it in a different way. Okay.
Now let me ask this. How does the premium financing company lay hold of my asset as far as like leveraging it? Do they put a lien on it? How does that work?
They will never put a lien on it. Your money is secure, just with any other loan, as long as the asset does not lose its value. If the asset loses it, or the drops in value, for example, let's just say, once again, let's just say we're using crypto, we're using Bitcoin, right, to fund something like this. So, I'm going to call Mario as the client and say, I've got $10 million. Okay. Can we do premium financing with that? Absolutely. It is a tangible asset. It is considered cash, right? Money, dollar amount. So, but then, we do it for 3 years, 2 years, what have you. And then all of a sudden Bitcoin crashes, it drops, from being 100% or 90%, what it currently is, all of a sudden it drops to 20%. Guess what? We're going to have to figure out, or I'm myself as the client, I'm going to have to figure out what other assets I can throw into this loan so that the bank is still happy with having my assets as collateral. Does that make sense? So we have to always make sure that the assets that we're utilizing, A, are not going to dramatically drop, or B, we have to make sure that we only borrow what we know we can structure the policy to perform and pay back. Okay, does that make sense? So your money's protected with the bank. Now, are there risks? Like I was saying earlier, absolutely. Yes. Why? Because we're working through a bank for this loan. This isn't like whole life, right? I mean, you're buying a whole life contract, so that's safe, right? That's going to make you money without a doubt. But at the end of the day, because we are currently working with a bank loans fluctuate every single year. Okay, so in the event that the loan goes up in interest, again, if the collateral that we're showing to the bank does not meet their requirements for the increase in interest, then we certainly, again, we have to come up with some way to justify the loan with assets. Okay, so we have to add additional assets. So we have to make sure that we have a real estate or money in the bank or what have you. That way we can justify borrowing the loan.
So essentially, year one, let's say we go to the bank and they lend me the 30 million. based on, obviously, the bank is gonna take proper steps to verify what I have, to make sure it's there. So let's just say for simple math, year one, they charge me 5% interest.
Mhm.
But then year two, country goes bad, everything's crashing, and they jump my interest 12 or 13%, right?
Mhm.
That's what you're talking about, is that on an annual
Correct.
basis, interest could go up and down based on what's going on.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yep, just like any other interest in the world, it can go up and down. I mean, unless it's a fixed interest, but that doesn't happen with a premium financing. There is no such thing as a fixed interest because that's how the bank makes their money, right?
Yeah.
Let's be real. That's everybody has to get paid, right? So, so yeah. Does anybody else have any other questions? No one else? I'm gonna start.
So in the event that the interest,
I
Go
asked, Patty, I just asked those questions that way, Marita, because I think that
Mhm.
that's where a lot of people are.
Absolutely.
Some people are just too embarrassed to ask it.
Yeah.
I'm
fine.
not, I always say keep it super simple. So
Mhm.
that's why I was asking those questions. I think
Sure.
that clarify a lot of things for people. So that's
Absolutely.
like, go ahead, Patty.
Patty?
so in the event that the interest would go up on a given year on the loan,
Mhm.
how do you structure the policy to have enough cushion to account for that? Because wouldn't that, in that event, set it up backwards, or is that like on the long term where it would catch up on the back end?
So it's always the idea is for it to always catch up. Yes, but we have to make sure that we're making an additional dollar amount. Remember, they're financing this this whole life policy because they're going to do a bunch of stuff with it. So we have to make sure that we're making enough interest, A, to pay the loan, but B, to finance what they want to finance. So let's just say it's for a business, right? They want to build $1 million or a $20 billion hospital, for example, right? So now we have to make sure that we have enough interest to pay the loan every year, the loan interest rather, and to make sure that we can fund our project so it begins making money, thus adding to our net worth. Okay. So yes, I mean, it's not just about paying back the interest. What's the point? I mean, you're just buying a life insurance policy at that point, unless it's strictly for estate planning. If it's strictly to leave wealth for your family when you die, then that's a different story. We can only focus on making enough interest to where it's going to pay just the loan. Okay. But if it's for projects and stuff like that, absolutely. So we have to borrow the correct amount, the projected amount that it's going to cost to build the facility, that it's going to cost to pay the bank back, and that it's going to cost for that length of time, whether it's 10 years, 15 years, whatever the client, is projected to need it for. So, okay. So yeah, we have to be really careful. That's why I'm saying, like, we have to be really careful. And there's a lot of parties involved in this, you guys. This is not going to be like, if you have a high net worth client, you're not going to call me and it's not just going to be me. No, this is like, I mean, I have to call my premium financing people and so on and so forth, because this is something, it's very, very important that it's structured correctly. So yes, I mean, us as advisors, we will take care of the life insurance side, but when they tell us how much is projected, so that's not the math that you're going to have to do. So don't get scared. Don't be intimidated. When I first saw this product, I was like, I'm never working with that. That is way too complicated for me. This is insane. Like, I don't even want to touch that much money. What if I screw it up and, what have you? Don't worry about that. They're going to tell you exactly how to structure it, what you're allowed to put into the policy. And remember, the client has to qualify too. So the client has to qualify with the bank and the life insurance people. So we have to take all that into consideration. It has to be the right client. Okay. Still a life insurance contract. So let me ask you this. Eddie, can a normal life insurance agent sell this that doesn't have a securities license? I can't hear you. Oh, you can't? No? Okay.
His mic's not working.
Got it. Jacqueline, can you sell this if you wanted to sell it?
No.
Wrong. This is a life
Yes.
insurance contract. Yes, it's a life
Oh,
insurance
you
contract.
confused me with securities.
Yeah, no. So don't think you cannot, take care of this. Yes, you can. Anybody that
Okay.
has a life insurance license can sell this. Okay.
Like I'm
ahead.
so beyond this, like it's so new to me. But I just have a question just because I'm nosy.
Uh-huh.
Do we make a commission off the interest with the bank or just the life insurance part?
Well, no, we don't make a commission with the
Right.
bank because we're
Yeah.
not,
We're not on that side.
because we don't
Okay.
do investments and we don't work directly with the bank. That's why we hire outside people to do the premium financing for us. the
At that
structure
point-
of the bank. So
At
we have
that
to.
point, we're just trying to get creative and help this get accomplished.
Exactly, but you do get a commission on the life insurance part of it. So that's big money, because if you're, imagine if you're, and just so you know, you guys, you can use any product, any type of life insurance product to build this. So if the client doesn't want to do, for example, an executive strategies, that's going to pay you a lot less. Guess what? You can do a 95, you can do a 65, you can do a 10 pay, 50 pay, 20 pay. You can utilize whatever is going to make sense for the client for that length of time. So if you can use, imagine if somebody comes to you, for example, with $10 million and they said, I want to dump 10 million bucks into this. Let's do it. And I say, no problem. So what premium do you want? You know, I mean, like, well, how much do you want to pay? So we're going to structure it to where they're going to pay 10 million for 5 years. Let's just say that, right? So, because that's what it's going to cost for them to do their project and pay back the interest to the bank for the loan, okay, to finance it. Not a problem. So now we know that we're going to get $50 million in the span of 5 years. Okay. Can anybody tell me what a $10 million policy would pay out on a whole life 95? If y'all can tell me that right now, I will help you for the rest of my life.
10 million?
10 million. If you had a $10 million annual premium on a whole life 95, what would be your payout?
Hold on.
I wouldn't work again.
That's a cheap answer.
8 million?
I'd
7.
7. I
Hold
say
on.
7.
Well, 7 million, well, 7, you have to know the comp grid, but
Well, let's just say
It's got
hypothetically
70% in my head. That's
yeah,
why.
let's hypothetically say, yes, you're getting paid 70%, right?
Yeah.
And right. So yeah, $7 million.
Okay, you're gonna help me for the rest
That's
of your life.
80%. That's 80%, you guys. 80% on a whole life 95, that would be your take home. Of course, you have to pay taxes, but whatever, as an example. Can you imagine that? And that's year one. Imagine if you're doing it for 5 years. You're done, right? I mean, you're gonna peace out after that. Well, now you can't retire and you can't not work ever again because you have to manage it for 5 years. So, you know, so that's that's the another kicker, but you can just goof off at work. You don't ever have to write a policy again. You can just show up, show face to these meetings and hang out, right? Get to spend some time with me. So, so yeah, these are really, really amazing products to know about, understand, because like I said, Mario and I are seeing a lot of people bringing their money to us. Again, this week alone, a lot of you weren't here in the beginning when I mentioned this, but this week alone, we saw, I don't know, like 3 big net worth clients. So, I mean, same thing can happen to you. You know, it's just about how you speak about the product that you know about it, not necessarily understand it, because nobody's going to understand it in day one, right? It's a lot of information, but you know that there's a possibility, you know, that we can do something with your money. Then you call me and then I make a plan for you and then we get it together and then we present it. And then guess what? Now we're selling, you know, multi-million-dollar policies. Okay. Cool. Anybody else? Anybody else wants to add? So any takeaways, Karina? You look confused, girl. Talk to me.
I'm just super
Takeaway.
I'm processing all of this.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing. You know how to sell whole life.
Yeah, like
Same
I
thing.
get it's I don't know, it's a lot of information. I feel like I need to watch the video again.
Yeah.
The
I'm gonna go
first
ahead and
time hearing about this. So
I'm gonna go ahead and post the link on the on Signal, just so you guys have it and go rewatch it. Make sure you rewatch it, you guys, because this is all, you know, it's useless information if you listen to it once and then come back and ask me in a week. Like that, you all know I find that terribly annoying. So just go look at it. It's a 15-minute, you know, long video. Look at it once, maybe next week, look at it again. And then I'm also gonna upload a copy for everybody, or you can download it, I guess, of Becoming Your Own Banker by R. Nelson Nash. I was able to finally get the PDF, the ebook. So y'all can download it, read. It's an easy read, very short, nothing crazy, but I encourage you to read it so you can better understand the product and understand how it came to be. You know what I'm saying? And so on and so forth. Patty, I know you already read it, so you don't have to, but anybody else that wants the information and wants to be well-versed in this, I encourage you to do so. Okay? Yes, sir.
Marika, if you can, send it to me and I'll upload it to the Google Drive. So it's
Okay.
always, that's good. Because
Absolutely.
yeah. Real quick, can you stop the recording before we, and then I'll just share something real quick?